This video honestly probably should have came out before I dropped my Madden version, but considering Madden's been the majority of my content here lately, besides my Dynasty rebuild in College Football 25, I decided to go ahead and put my Madden version out first. It's not just that because of me pushing a lot of Madden content here recently, but because Madden has a lot more features that need to be added back into the game that haven't been added to the game or have been taken out over the years. And Madden has been around for all these years without putting any of these features back in, or a majority of these features back in. College Football 25 is just now coming back out, so they get a little grace. But nonetheless, this video is my wish list for College Football 26 on some features that I would like to see added back to this game, brought back in this game. Some once were put in this game, some are just me wishful thinking, should I say. So unlike Madden, me having a bulk of features and only narrowing it down to about 15 to 17 that I actually mentioned in the video, this one I actually have a top 10 with a couple bonus that I'm gonna throw in at the very end. But this is my top 10 wish list features that I'd love to see added in College Football 26. Real quick, before we get into any of the features, if you're here for the first time or you're returning and you haven't liked or subscribed already, please do so. Click that notification tab so you can stay up to speed with not just College Football 25 content, but College Football 26 leaks and everything like that coming soon. So without further ado, let's jump right into it. First feature that I would love to see added to College Football 26 is somewhat of a training camp, or spring training, should I say. So in Madden, we have training camp, which was just added in last Madden. So last Madden added training camp. They brought it back over again this year. Hopefully that doesn't get taken out, since they tend to add stuff and take it out, just like they brought back the Pro Bowl and took that out, but off of that. But if we could have something like that, like a spring training, if we can have a spring training where it's like training camp, where we get to use those drills, they actually have the drills as an option in College Football 25, but it's not in your dynasty mode. Just like the drills are available in Madden outside of franchise, well, they're also available in franchise for training camp and weekly training. So if they could add spring training, just like how, not just the spring training, but if they could add a spring game too, because that's actually been something that they had in the game in prior years. Early on in the NCAA games, they had a spring game that you could play. Now, there wasn't much bonus that you got for that, like points or anything like that, but it did give you a feel to get an idea how your team played, how to play with these guys with these new recruits coming in. And I don't know about any of y'all, but normally my first couple of games are a little off because I bring in these prospects and I get so excited about having them, and I start playing all out of my element. So I'm doing all kinds of outrageous things and also trying to force things their direction or overutilize these players because I'm over anxious about having these prospects on my team. Whereas if I had at least like a spring game that I could play and get a feel for these players to know what they do and what they can do and what they can't do, then I wouldn't be so overzealous when it comes to actually playing regular season games. So if they could bring back a spring game, but not just a spring game, but spring training, to where we could use drills to generate points, XP points for our players that we can actually spend on them, that would be extremely clutch. Feeding off of the spring training and spring game, weekly training. Why that isn't an option in Dynasty mode, I don't know, because again, this is a feature that's been in Madden that you had weekly before all your games. You could have focus players that you use for drills, or use drills on those focus players that if you got bronze, silver, or gold, you got a certain amount of XP added to them, and you could use that to develop the players throughout the season. Right now in College Football 25, there is no development. Like, you can't develop these players during the season. Literally all you can do is just play the games. You can tally up your stats, and then at the end of the year, the training is like auto-generated. There's no way you can personally upgrade your players. They should add an option like weekly training where we can put these focus players in drills, get bronze, silver, or gold and get some kind of benefit, some kind of points from doing those drills. And that way we can develop our players throughout the season, weekly, at the end of the season, mid-season, whatever it is. Just like we do in Madden. Instead of being handicapped and worrying about, like, say, for instance, the guy in my dynasty, Paris Meeks, I've been going off for 3 seasons with this guy. I even won a Heisman Trophy with him. Had over 2,000 yards receiving the first year with him. And has been tallying up the yards like crazy, but all he's developed to is an 83. How is that even possible? And I'm still stacking up his numbers. But I don't know if they're able to generate the points like that or how they generate his progression. But I feel like if I had the option to focus on him and generate points with him, I would be able to develop him where he should be right now. So weekly training is high on my list of what I would love to see added to college football 26. Also, create prospects. Now, look, we had a whole year with college football 25. We heard all the nonsense about, NIL restricting them from doing this and doing that. But come on now, it shouldn't be too hard to give us an option to be able to create prospects. Again, I hate to keep referring back to Madden, but if Madden gives you all of these options, and again, I get it. I understand. You have the NIL deal. You worried about possible lawsuits, players getting created that didn't opt into the game, whatever. There's ways around all that. You can block that. And again, I don't understand. I don't see how this could make EA liable of getting sued, because I could understand originally when they got sued because you had the player's likeness in the game. You just named the player number 7 or player number 95. And you weren't really hiding it. Yes, that was that player's actual number. Yes, that was his correct skin tone. Yes, that was his correct position. So all somebody literally needed to do was change his name, and that was that player, and he was in the game. But that's not the instance. It's out of your control when you give a user an option to create a player. If they create the player from scratch, like if you didn't put the player in the game, they created a player from scratch, named them that. How are they liable? They shouldn't be liable. If that's the case, then all these other games that give users all these freelance abilities to create whoever they want to, they would be getting sued, but they're not. 2K lets you go in there and create your draft class, edit players. Well, that's a bad example because it's a pro game, but still, Madden's a pro game. But we can edit our draft classes on there, and we can go in there and edit each player in the class to actual real life prospects from college football. Are these college athletes suing the NFL or suing EA for their player likeness being in the game because users created, hence the word created them in the game? No, they're not. So this shouldn't be hard to put back in the game. You shouldn't be fearful of users creating actual college prospects and putting them in the game because you didn't put it there. You could see how you got sued before because you put the player there. You just didn't put their name. So their likeness was in the game that you created and gave users the ability to edit those players' names to make them the actual prospect. This isn't that. You didn't put the player there. The user is creating the player and putting them in the game. And this is something that has been around for decades. So it should have never been taken out. Now, I can understand you wanting to block people from editing players already in the game, but that's different. This is actually creating somebody from scratch. So we should be able to create prospects, not just like outside of dynasty, but inside of the dynasty. Like, we should be able to create whoever we want to before recruiting, so then we can go after these players and recruit them. A lot of people miss that. That was the highlight of a lot of people's experience with NCAA games back in the day, was creating prospects to put in the pool to recruit. Now we just have to recruit whatever is given to us. So give us the ability to create prospects to recruit, and I guarantee you'll see even more of increase in sales for college football 26 than you did with college football 25. Editing players, I just mentioned it. Editing players. Again, I understand that EA's all freaked out with, they don't want to get sued again. They went through this before. They don't want to get sued again. I get that. You have these players under contract, all right? So they're being compensated for something. So why don't we have the ability to edit these players? The players in Madden are contract as well with the NFLPA and all that. We can edit the players in Madden. Why can't we edit these prospects? They're under contract. They've been compensated. They've been paid. We should be at the least be able to edit numbers, change position or whatever, but you can't change any of that if they're on an NIL deal. That doesn't make sense. So we should be able to be given a wider range of editing abilities, because it's fine. We can edit prospects that are computer generated or whatever. That's fine. That's not the issue. The issue is we can't, because say we started a dynasty when the game first drops and a player has a certain number, but their number changed once the college football year actually started or whatever may have happened. But we already started our dynasty. Somebody might not be wanting to go back and start over again. They would just like to be able to change his number, but you can't change his number. Or they had, like, take, for instance, this year with college football 25, where you had players that had a certain number, but after the first season, some kind of glitch happened and their number changed. And then you couldn't go back and change the number. So in the event that you have a glitch in your game or something like that, we should have the ability to be able to have less restrictions on editing players, NIL players specifically. Come on now. Would you worry somebody that is on an NIL deal that's in the game is going to get edited and his number go from 7 to 25, or somebody changes position, you worried about them suing you? Come on, let's get real. Let's get real. Editing should be something easily added back into the game. Again, just like create prospect, that would be something where if you gave us access to that, you would see an uptick in your sales because people will be more satisfied. People will be more willing to spend money on your game. A trophy room, just like I mentioned in Madden, this has been something that they've had before in college football in NCAA games, prior NCAA games. So bring this back. We like to see our accomplishments, our achievements. We like to have a trophy room that we can be able to go in there, see however many Heismans we won with this player, see however many national championship trophies we won as a university, whatever it is. Give us a trophy room so we can visually see all our accolades. You had it before. You've had way more before. It's something that I'm not even that I don't even really necessarily have on this list. But the dynasty, you used to have a dorm room. It had a dorm room with the schedule and everything like that. Like, we could see all this. Why don't you give us any of this back? I'm not so focused on the dorm room, but just bring back our trophy room. Bring back all that. Let me see my accolades. You won't see too much of a complaint from me and many other users. Real coaches. That's the next one. Real coaches. So we got the real players in the league. It would be amazing if we had the option to be able to have real coaches in the game. Like the creative coach thing, that's all fine and dandy and cool. And I like it. I like the creative coach thing because it makes for good storylines, like I have with my dynasty with Will Blackman. But get us real coaches in the game to go along with the real players and get all users more immersed in the college football community, the college football gaming community. High school. Bring back high school. Back in the day when you got into your road to glory, you started off in high school. Now, I think it's been rumored that this is being added back to the game, but nothing is confirmed yet. But until we do get confirmation of it, I'm putting it out there on my wish list. Please bring this back. Bring back high school for Road to Glory. I didn't get too active with Road to Glory this year, but I promise you, if you bring back high school, I'll be more enticed to get back into Road to Glory. And on top of the high school aspect, mentioning on top of it, not only did we have high school, but we actually had a wider variety of positions that we could choose from. So that would be my next feature, more positions in Road to Glory. Don't keep us so limited on what position we can play in Road to Glory. Give us a wide variety of positions. If we want to play offensive line, let us play offensive line. If we want to play D tackle, let us play D tackle. If we want to be a kicker, let us be a kicker. Give us more positions in Road to Glory and bring back high school in Road to Glory. That would make the experience so much better. The biggest thing, actually, I'm gonna save this one for last. I only got 2 features left. I already mentioned 8. I only got 2 features left. I'm gonna save this one for last. It's on my list as being next, but I'm gonna leave it for last. So next up, FCS teams. Now, I want to say dating back to like NCAA 14 and all those, you didn't really have FCS teams. It was like some random generated team that you would face off against that you would play. But back in earlier years, NCAA games, we had FCS teams. And it would be so much better on the community of gamers, the community of users, to already have those in the game instead of people having to go in there and manually create these teams to have to put in your dynasty mode. Because back in the day, they were already there. You had your Jackson States there. You had your McNeese State, the Grambling. There were all of these teams. They were in the game in the early years of NCAA before they went and took them out. And they haven't put them back in since. And yeah, we have Team Builder. We're in the era where they did bring us back Team Builder and give us the option to be able to create these teams and put them back in the game. But we shouldn't have to do all that legwork just to have FCS teams in our college football game. Because I don't know how many of y'all actually use Team Builder out there. I used it twice maybe. But if you don't have some kind of high-powered computer or whatever, the website is extremely slow and glitchy. It takes forever just to create one team. So it's uninspiring to want to sit up there and create multiple teams. And then you do all that, and then you have to go in there and import them into the game. Just too much. It would be better to just already have those teams in the game at least. I could understand creating our own personal teams, favorite teams, creating XFL teams, UFL teams, whatever. But we shouldn't have to create the FCS teams to put in the game so we have our dynasty. And some of us aren't even able to do well. I believe CFB 26 will be different because it should already come with Team Builder. But for the people who had College Football 25 at release and Team Builder wasn't accessible to them until the following week or so, we started dynasties already and didn't have any of these teams, these FCS teams that people created through Team Builder and put on there. If they don't put them in the game, which they mentioned, they talked about it. They talked about being in the works to get these teams back in the game. Now, whether or not they'll be back in the game in 26 or not is up in the air. That's just on my wish list that I hope that it's back in 26. But in the event that it's not, it should be better for us this year once the game drops to have the Jackson States, the Grambling States, all those teams in our dynasty because Team Builder should be available day one, unlike this past year. But yes, FCS teams is a must. And one of the things that's high up on my list to have on my wish list for College Football 26. But last but not least, before we get into the bonus ones that I'm going to just throw in there. But last but not least, the biggest one of them all. The main reason I ever played college football games to begin with. The import and export draft class feature. Like the biggest thing about college football games for me was being able to have these players that I played with throughout the dynasty, had all this success with throughout their career, them not just disappear, them being able to port over into the pros in Madden and continue their career over there. And there's a lot of people that feel the exact same way. Some of the people could care less. Some of the people that play, they can care less. They're just all in on college football. And I understand that. I get where y'all are coming from. I'm not even mad at you guys. But for the people who do play both and go all in with not just the dynasty mode, but franchise mode in Madden, you want to be able to continue those players' legacy over into Madden. And it was so dope and so easy and cool that you can simply export those players and import them into Madden back in the day. Instead of having to do what I do, which is create draft classes for Madden, which takes a lot of work, time, effort, it was easier to just export and import them. And they took that feature away, and the excuse was that they don't have the player licensing in Madden. They only got the player likeness licensing for college football. Me, honestly, that's a BS excuse if you ask me. That's just them using that excuse to be lazy, to be lazy and not put it in. I don't see how that would affect them, but hey, who am I? It is what it is. It is what it is. It's no different than like when I mentioned earlier in the video about creating players, editing prospects and everything like that. It's no different than when you actually create the draft class on Madden and you create the same players over there. What's the difference in the likeness? Just like how they blocking people from creating players in college football because they don't want to face a issue with getting sued. If you haven't gotten sued all these years when people create these players' likeness in Madden draft classes, why would you get sued for giving them the ability to create these players in college football? And it's the same thing with exporting and importing. Like, dude, they're going to end up in a game one way or another because people are going to create them in Madden. So I just don't understand it. It is what it is. That's the excuse. But myself, as well as many other gamers, this is what we look forward to. Bringing back the export-import draft class feature. Now, this is the biggest one on my list. This is what I'm most hopeful for as far as college football 26 is concerned. But this is the one I least expect to get added in the game. Because once they created that built-in excuse that, hey, we don't have the licensing to be able to put those players' likeness in Madden, then that let me know, like, they're not even really trying at this point. They're not even really trying and don't expect it. So until then, I'm going to continue to make my draft classes, which are based off of college football games, based off college football 25 and then college football 26 going forward. But it would be a lot better, a lot easier on users and gamers like myself to not have to do that, but just be able to export and import the draft class. So that's my top 10 features wish list for college football 26. As far as my bonus features is concerned, presentation would be one. I'd like to see like a news article section. A lot of people don't know this, but back in the day, they used to have an online Dynasty Hub. And in this Dynasty Hub, you had a story builder mode where you could take screenshots from your game to actually create news articles that would show up and you could toggle through in your Dynasty mode. So to be able to add something like that back, not just that for presentation, but other things for presentation. I'd also like to see a Heisman ceremony. Like when somebody wins the Heisman Trophy, don't just have like their image pop up and then a trophy pop up on the side of them or whatever. They used to actually have a Heisman Trophy ceremony in NCAA games where whoever won went up to the podium to get the award, all that jazz. Bring something like that back. Like I'm saying, I'm not beating the game up right now. The game's just coming back, and I love the game. A lot of people love the game. But the game's just now coming back, and you've had a lot of success out of it, the best-selling sports game ever. So build off of that. Now all you got to do is just add things to it to make it more immersive and get the people really interested in the game and really involved, make them feel like they're really a part of like a real life dynasty, a real life experience, a real life college football experience. So Heisman Trophy ceremony, also a trophy celebration. A trophy celebration would be dope. Like whenever the team, like, yeah, you get what you get at the end of the game, where it shows the coach holding up the trophy, then the team taking a picture with the trophy. But do a little more than that. Do like how Madden has, and even Madden isn't the best when it comes to it, but have like the podium, have the players going up to the podium, have the trophy being brought to them, show like the coach being interviewed, show like the MVP being interviewed, all that. Just there's so much more that they could build off of. There's so much more that they could build off of. And I'm interested to see how many of these things get added, if any. They might not listen to anything that I got to say. They might just go out and add some other features that have nothing to do with this video. But I'm putting this out there in hopes that y'all take it and run with it. Y'all blow this up. Maybe they see this and they decide, you know what? That is a good idea. This is a good idea. We did have this in a game before. Maybe we should bring this back. All that. So that's just my top 10 features, or I guess you could say 13 since I added those last 3 in. But I definitely want to see if they could do some kind of news article collaboration here, like they did with the online Dynasty Hub. Also, Heisman Trophy ceremony and trophy celebrations. But those are just my extras, my throw-ins. My biggest ones: training camp, spring training, with throw in a spring game, weekly training, create prospects, edit players, trophy room, real coaches, high school in Road to Glory, more positions in Road to Glory, FCS teams, export and import draft classes. If you're here for the first time or you're returning and you haven't liked or subscribed already, please do so. Click that notification tab so you can stay up to speed with not only CFB 25 content, but CFB 26 content coming up as well. As always, I appreciate you all for tuning in. That's been my time. Till next time.